Hello everyone, my prototype is Interact, a communication device for deaf mute person. I'll be talking about motivation, background research, system design, experimental design, and conclusion. The primary motivation is that the sign language is the primary form of communication among deaf mute people, and it has been preferred over text reading and lips reading. We know that not everyone knows sign language, and also interpreters are not available every time for their help. So it is quite hard for the deaf mute person to become independent. There has been some background researches, like mainly to recognize the sign language, device-based and vision-based approach has been used. Starner, Weaver, and Penland even uses camera mounted on the head to detect the sign language, and they have got considerable accuracy, the 98% on footage signs. But unfortunately, facial expression has not been considered by many. Wang has used it and gained 90%, but I think more researchers consider it. And text-to-speech system is one of the most preferred form to take to the speech. And regarding audio to sign language, for the automatic speech recognition, many research utilize lip motion to increase accuracy. Noda has predicted the phonemes from lip motion. Now Ratna has tracked driver's lips to isolate car's noise. And for the translation to sign language, they most of them simply use word to sign animation via translation rules. This is my device. I use its eye tracking too. There has already been some work in the camera tracking eye system, which analyzes the eye fixation. Bitnari has tracked the computer a core area of eye fixation for the user, and so they has been able to track driver's eye to analyze concentration on the road when driving. So these are my system to following design. This will work with the American Sign Language for now. There are spectacles and two wearable cameras as you can see in the picture. The signs will be rendered on the spectacles glass, and the camera are both on the inside and outside of the frame, like over here inside and outside. And two other cameras are to capture the facial expression like over here, so that I get the full view of the facial area of the user. And the microphone will be capturing the audio, the speaker will emit the synthesized speech, and the haptic vibration on the temple area of the glass will be used to alert the user or someone is calling from behind using their name of the user. So for the ASL to speech conversion, the user will just have to create the sign in front of the glass. So like I'll be wearing the glass, so I'll just be doing the signs over here, and these cameras and the cameras over here will integrate to convert it to speech. And for the speech to ASL, I'll just have to focus on a person, just like in the picture shown over here. I'll have to focus my eye to the person. The cameras and the frontal and the backward cameras will coordinate and find the focus area, like which person I'm focusing, and capture the lips motion and utilize the lips motion to isolate the audio of the person from the rest of the noise and translate it and render it as sign language over here in the glasses. Also, if someone is calling like the person over here, then there will be haptic feedback on this temple area of the rest, like there will be haptic feedback, and then the user will know that someone is calling from behind, and she or she has to be alert. uh, for the experiment, there has been 5 studies done. The studies were done to study the following things, like how accurately can the ASL be converted to speech, how accurately can it be done in noisy environment, how accurately can the deaf mute person use the system to recognize the sign language that has been converted from speech, and how accurately the system could convert in noisy environment, and will the user be aware of when his or her name is being called from the back. All the systems used within subject design, and also an interview was held for subjective feedback at the end. Overall, 6 participants, 3 male, 3 female, were chosen from the deaf community in Waco, Texas. It was required that they knew ASL and they had no vision impairment and skin sensitivity issue. 2 speakers were chosen from linguistic department Baylor. They were chosen from there because they need to have control over their accent. And deaf interpreter from Baylor Communication Sciences and Research Department, which is to communicate with the participants. These participants were the same for all the experiments. And before the experiments, the participants were trained about how to use the system, how they should comprehend the signs that will appear pop up augmented on the glass, and how they should make the signs to synthesize a speech from the system. They're all trained regarding it. The design of the experiment was 6 participants with 4 speech creation tasks. The independent variables were SL signs, the pace with which it was created, the size of the hand, and the dependent variable was the speech created. The control variable were the room brightness and the sign action. This experiment was quite simple. The participant was first instructed to make the signs in front of the camera without obstructing the view from here, and the speech was synthesized by the system, and then it was recorded. The design of the other experiment was 6 deaf-mute participants with 4 speech creation. The independent variables were the same as before, but with the addition of visual noise from the hand of other 2 people. The dependent variable was the speech, the control variable was the same as before. In this experiment, the 2 other participants were instructed to make random conversation noise at a distance of 1 meter from the subject participant, like over here. And the main participant was instructed to create sign language in that context. The speech will be synthesized by the system and it will be recorded. The experimental 3 design contains 6 participants with 2 speakers. The independent variable was the line read by the speaker, the dependent variable was the sign generated and its perception by the participant. The control variable was room brightness, speaker action, speech rate, and loudness. In this sort of experiments, 4 different short sentences would be provided for the speaker to speak, which should then be converted to appropriate SL signs and which will be perceived by the deaf participants. Their response would be recorded in the mean interval time. The whole session would be recorded for the future analysis. The experimental design for consisted of 6 participants with 4 different noise levels. The 4 different noise levels were 10 dBA equivalent to pin dropping, 30 dBA equivalent to whispering, 60 dBA equivalent to conversation noise, 85 dBA equivalent to passing digital drop. The independent variable were the line read by the speaker and the noise level. The dependent variable was again the sign generated and the perception of the signs. The control variable over here was the room brightness, speaker action, speech rate, and the loudness. So in the experimental for a simple conversation dialogue was given to the 2 speakers, which was about 10 seconds long. The participant was instructed to know the conversation of all speakers as much as possible. Since the deaf participant has to look at the lips of the speakers, so they all sat in the round table, and the speaker made the scripted conversation with each other, and the response was recorded from the participant after he analyzed and perceived the sign languages. And in this experiment, there was 6 deaf-mute participants with 4 noise levels as previous, and the independent variable was the noise level, loudness of the call, and the dependent variable was the number of calls from the caller. First of all, in this experiment 5, the name of the subject participant was encoded to the device because it will only be triggered by the name of the person. The subject participant and the other distracted participant were instructed to make conversation with each other in a fashion that distractor was instructed not to give any hint to the subject participant, and subject participant was instructed not to face the entry door. Then at a random point, the caller random speaker was instructed to call the subject participant by the name, which could be a multiple number of times depending on when the participant notices. This number of call to the participant would be recorded because it will give the idea that whether the participant was aware or not. So over here, I have proposed a fully integrated communication system for a deaf-mute person, which has the novel approach to make speech-to SL signs robust. The future enhancement could be working under different light conditions, different languages, and also providing user control for speaker volume and haptic feedback, vibration intensity. Thank you. And here are my references. Thank you.